Hey, I'm Brendan Moran. Welcome to Creek Currents. My co-host, Ruby Lopez, is on assignment with the Golden State Warriors this month, so I'll be the one taking you through what's going on with the city, including my sit-down with new Mayor Justin Wedel. And if you like art and science, we've got the event for you. But first, you may have noticed all those lime green bikes all over town. Well, I have the details on the city's newest ride. Hey, I'm Brendan Moran. I'm here at the Shadelands for the kickoff of the LimeBike rideshare program. Joining me is Angela De La Husse. She's in charge of the steering committee here at the Shadelands. So tell me about the bikes.
This is so exciting. So we have a launch today of these dockless bikes, and they're from LimeBikes. So we're very excited, and actually we're deploying 500 bikes today at Shadelands. They can be taken anywhere in the city. And the concept of a dockless bike is that it's very environmentally friendly, very user-friendly, because you don't need a bike stand to dock it. They dock wherever, and then you load the app, the LimeBike app, and it shows you by pretty little limes where your closest bike is. So really exciting and an environmentally friendly way to kick off this launch.
Why did you guys want to bring this to Shadelands specifically?
That's a great question. So as Shadelands is developing and growing, I chair a group called the Shadelands PBIDS Committee. And it's a steering committee that tries to find ways to enhance the business park. We have been the committee that was behind the free ridership on the buses, the Shadelands buses that you'll see. So the bikes were a concept that came up when we were thinking, you know, this Shadelands business park is hundreds of acres. People don't realize how big it is. It's over 200 acres. And how do you get from one end to the other? If you want to start at Orchards and have lunch and go to Calicraft and have a beer and then ride to the Pleasant Hill BART station, how do you do that, you know, and drop a bike without taking a bike on BART or something like that, or get from one end of the park to the other? And someone had heard about these dockless bikes, which are springing up all over Alameda County, San Francisco, and different cities in the US. And so that's how the concept was introduced to us. And it was fairly new then, but we're really excited to be one of the cities in the East Bay that's actually launching.
So people can grab their phones, they walk up to a bike, they open the app, and then they scan their phone on the bike, and it opens the lock, right?
Yes, the bikes are locked. You actually can't lift them without an alarm going off, so they're theft resistant. But you walk up to a bike, you have to have the LimeBike app. You pull up the app through GPS, it locates the bike closest to you, and then you can even position your camera on the SKU. It'll load the bike and it unlocks it. They're $1 a half hour, so it's only $2 an hour to ride.
Wow.
And if you're an employee here at Shadelands, they're free. So it's a really great way to get people using the entire business park and beyond.
So you can ride these not just in the Shadelands, but wherever.
Exactly, yes. You can pick up a bike in Shadelands or wherever, and you can ride it to downtown Walnut Creek, any of the BART stations, from one end of Shadelands to the other. You can take it anywhere.
So the bikes themselves are pretty sturdy, right?
Yes. The bikes actually have foam tires, so the tires don't go flat. And the baskets have a solar panel in them that lights up the little light on them.
Oh. I'm here with Megan Colford. She's with LimeBike, and she's going to tell us how this all works, right?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm looking at a bike. Looks like you can get on and ride it, but there's a lot more to it than that.
So our bikes are what are called a dockless bike share model, meaning that our bikes can be parked throughout the community just like you see here. There's a kickstand that allows it to stay up. It doesn't require a bike rack. Now all of the unlocking and tracking of your bikes and trip happens right here through a rear wheel lock that is GPS enabled. So if you're walking down the street and you see this bike and you want to unlock it, you pull out your phone and use the LimeBike app to unlock it just with scanning the QR code. The LimeBike app is free on the iTunes Store and Google Play, and Android, Android and iTunes.
And then when you're done with it, what do you do?
So when you're done, you park it in a responsible parking area. Anywhere that you would park your normal bike, you can park a LimeBike. You put the kickstand down if needed, and then you just simply manually lock it up, and it sings a little song. that you just heard, and then you're on your way. It'll pop up on your app how far you went, how many calories you burned, how many carbon emissions you saved,
Really?
And you're good to go until the next time you want to ride a bike.
How's the ride itself? These look like brand new bikes.
They are, yeah. So we design and manufacture our own bikes. They're designed to be rideable by a wide variety of bodies and people and types. They have 8 gears, so they can get you up those hills when you need it, and they've got a bell for safety, as well as several other key safety features that make it a smooth ride.
Now this is going to be here for the Shadelands in general, right? And it's a really big area, so if you wanted to walk from one end to the other, it'd take you about 20 minutes or so. Have you talked to anybody about how excited they are about having bikes now?
Yeah, we actually, just at this event today, we saw a few people riding up, and on our drive-in, we saw people checking it out. I really think that a business park is one of the best use cases for our bikes, that it can get you to your lunch or to your meeting in a quarter of the time that it would take to walk. So I think people are really thrilled, especially tying it with transit options like BART as well. What we try to do on the operations side is make sure that there are enough bikes so that even if the bike you rode there isn't available, there would be another one right there 10 yards away. So we're launching initially in Shadelands with 300 bikes, and we're going to see what the usage looks like and whether we need to increase or decrease that number. But once we hit that right number, you're never going to have to walk far for a LimeBike.
Well, that does it from the Shadelands. Make sure to download your LimeBike app, and I will see you on the road. So if you're riding your LimeBike or your own bike downtown, remember, there's plenty of bike racks at the Walnut Creek Library, including a fix-it station. And while you're downtown, you might want to swing by the Bedford Gallery to see their new exhibit on the art of science.
My name is Ned Kahn. I'm an artist. I live in Sebastopol, California. My exhibit here is called Seed Vortex at the Bedford Gallery. After college, I wandered around the country, ended up working at the Exploratorium in San Francisco. It was founded by a scientist, Frank Oppenheimer, back in the 60s, but he had a great interest in getting artists involved, and so there was a very active artist in residence program there. And some of the pieces in this show are from my residency there. So yeah, I have a whole machine shop in Santa Rosa. So we manufactured all the pieces of it there. It was all designed to come apart and bolt together, and it all has to be done in the right order, and then fine-tuning it all. So for the Bedford Gallery, I wanted to do something different. So I just tried a bunch of different things. The mustard seeds just moved really beautifully, and they have a really beautiful smell, and they have a beautiful kind of subtle color. And the color of the mustard seeds, it kind of matches the rusty steel, so it kind of gave it all sort of a cohesiveness. And I was also intrigued with kind of using an organic material, and the whole idea of seeds, just kind of one little mustard seed could grow a mustard plant, and the sound too is really beautiful. It sounds a little bit like water pouring over sand or the ocean or a waterfall. So almost all these pieces have some way that you can interact with them, almost like a musical instrument where, I've kind of created the instrument, but then other people come and play it. And so it's always intriguing to me watching people play with these things. I've played with these things for hundreds of hours, and I get surprised by some of the creative things that people do with it. The theme that sort of ties all the pieces in the show together is this whole idea of kind of particles. Scientists talk about the granular state of matter. And in the last 10, 20 years, there was kind of this realization that if you have a whole bunch of grains, each one, when they're moving, when they're subjected to some kind of force, each little particle, each little mustard seed as they're falling, they're just interacting with their neighbors. But they take on behaviors where it looks like the whole thing does beautiful coordinated things. So there's kind of large-scale global pattern formation happens with just these things kind of interacting with each other. Scientists have shown mathematically that a system like this is beyond prediction. And you can see the beauty in it with your eyes, but you couldn't predict what it'll do mathematically. And it's an analogy for a lot of human systems too. It's like, we're all interacting with our neighbors and our friends and our family, and yet the society kind of has moods, and there's fads or like waves that propagate through. I'm most interested when I get surprised by some of these things, when I'm kind of experimenting with it and it does something that wouldn't have imagined at all. And again, it's like a scientific experiment. Like if you talk to scientists, they get jazzed when, they get surprised by something, or their experiment, leads to a whole other thing that they hadn't even thought about.
The Bedford Gallery has put out a call for public volunteers to help build a public art project this spring in Civic Park. So if you're interested, head on over to the Bedford Gallery's website for more information. Volunteerism and giving back was one of the subjects that I talked about with new Mayor Justin Wedel. Let's see what else he had to say. I'm Brendan Moran with Creek Currents, and welcome to the annual State of the City. And of course, joining me to talk about the State of the City is Mayor Justin Wedel. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So the obvious question first is, what is the state of the city?
The state of the city is doing well. You only have to look across the city to see how well we're doing, whether it's the $250 million investment concluding in Broadway Plaza, or GOTS, or Amazon, or Apple. Throughout the city, the state of the business community as well.
So obviously, let's talk a little bit about that. Economic development is one of the issues that the council is taking on. Can you just talk to me a little bit about what's going on there?
Well, we're doing a myriad of things. The first of which we're redoing our economic development strategic plan, and we've realigned our staff in order to accomplish that.
Is there a startup program in the works that I'm familiar with? Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
There is. You're referencing the 2018 Startup and Resident Program. And Walnut Creek, we were proud to be one of 8 cities throughout the country that were selected in order to participate in a program that allows startups, we're known for startups in this area, to complete tasks that staff comes up with. One of the things that they're going to be working on is a program, an online community program that allows individuals to apply for parking permits.
That's great. Cool. Like California and the United States in general, Walnut Creek has its fair share of aging infrastructure. And I'm wondering, does the council have any ideas on how to tackle that in the coming year?
Well, I wish we had the silver bullet answer, but of course we do not. But one of the things that we are doing, just like any other municipality, we have a lot of aging infrastructure. In fact, in the United States, we have over $5 trillion in infrastructure debt. Walnut Creek is part of that amount. We, at the council level, we have taken this as one of our major priority items that we're going to be focusing on, and we're analyzing our infrastructure, and we've come up with 4 facilities in which we're going to be addressing the Heather Farm Community Center, Civic Park Community Center, Clark Swim Center, and Shadelands Art Center. And so the council is working through a process to determine what programs we're going to provide at those facilities and what, if any, facilities will be upgraded.
Mayor Wedel, another council priority is finding a realistic way to address homelessness. Can you talk to me about that?
Sure. Well, this is one of the things I'm most proud of on the council. As those that have been following this at the council level, I've actually shared a very personal story. My family has a history of homelessness. My uncle has actually been homeless most of my life. So I'm very proud and appreciate the efforts that this council is putting forward to find realistic action and solutions to solving homelessness problems in our community. We have taken a myriad of actions to assist in on this topic. We partner with the Trinity Center to have winter night shelter for the last few years, which provides a winter shelter for homeless individuals to spend the winter nights. They also combine efforts with the Trinity Center. It's a partnership where they get job training and try to find housing, and of course provide for basic needs like food and showers and so on. We've also invested in what's called the CORE program, which we partnered with the City of Concord, which goes around and addresses homelessness issues where the homeless actually are and tries to get them into services that are provided by the county.
Regionally, we have seen a lack of affordable housing being in the news a lot more. Can you talk to me about what Walnut Creek is doing about that?
Walnut Creek has a very long tradition of promoting and ensuring that affordable housing is happening in our community. We have an in lieu fund or an in lieu fee that these developments, a majority of them are paying into, and then we leverage those funds in order to support nonprofits in our community to build affordable housing, whether it's the Trinity Center or many of the other low-income housing that you see going on around our community. A lot of those are actually paid for, at least partially, by the large-scale market rate developments that are going on in Walnut Creek.
Mayor Wedel, I want to ask you about yourself, if you don't mind. I'm curious, what got you interested in running for City Council in the first place?
I've always been interested in giving back to this community. My wife and I had the honor of moving to Walnut Creek in 1998, and we've enjoyed it ever since, and I'm raising 2 young daughters here. And I was looking a way to use my skills, and when I decided to run for office, I believe that there was an extreme need for individuals with my background, both in technology and in finance, and I decided to run.
The last question is, and you've spoken about this before, is a need to bring up leaders for the future, especially people who are going to help see Walnut Creek through the next generation. Tell me, why is that important to you?
Well, at the end of the day, our next generation are going to be our next leaders. And I think that we as a community, and really we as a society, do not invest heavily enough in that. There was a book called Running from Office that detailed how a large percentage of individuals, younger individuals, would never run for office. I believe it was 89%. Mm-hmm. That is a scary percentage when you're whittling down the potential pool to only 11% of our younger individuals. I think we need to, as a community, both locally and regionally and nationally, we need to be promoting the next generation to take over when you and I are not here. If you look across this council, it's no surprise that I happen to be the youngest one. In fact, I'm one of the youngest mayors in our history. And I think that needs to be promoted more. We need to encourage younger individuals of your and my generation to get involved, actively participate, and lean in and provide the value in which I'm providing to this community.
Mayor Wedel, so if somebody is interested in getting involved, what would you suggest?
Well, there's many ways that people can get involved. Of course, volunteering is always option number one in my opinion. There's many nonprofits out there that would be more than happy to take youth to elderly individuals willing to volunteer. But of course, from a city perspective, there's lots of ways that you can get involved, whether it's the youth commission if you happen to be in high school, or a commissioner. You happen to be a commissioner. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's a police cadet program or reserves. There's CERT. From arts to development, there's some way for you to get involved.
Wonderful. Well, there's a lot to think about there. Thank you very much, Mayor Wedel, for your time.
It was my pleasure.
So if you're looking for a way to give back to Walnut Creek, head on over to the city's website for a list of volunteer opportunities. And I'll see you next time on Creek Currents.